Hello, everyone. This is Cindy Liu, founder of CHRO Mastermind Groups and the Big CHRO Event. And we are here to talk about the Big CHRO Event this year. It's an AI event built exclusively for CHROs. And before we jump into it, if you're joining me live on this Friday before a long weekend, feel free to say hello in the chat. Love to hear where you're joining us from today. And, I think this topic of AI is both like super exciting and a little uncomfortable. I met with a CHRO yesterday who talked about how it felt like a bullet train at her organization. And it's pretty cool. I think that also it can be a little scary because there's just so much to consume. And, recently I read a really disturbing insight from Gartner. Some of the research pointed at the fact that only 7% of CEOs actually view their CHROs as AI savvy. Actually, that's the lowest of any C-suite role on the ELT. So that means today, when CEOs are laser focused on AI, they may not be looking for the CEO's leadership. That's silence, and it's the risk that we can't afford unless we step up and steer the ship. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to talk about is why silence is a huge risk. Silence is, can really trick us into thinking that we're fine. But the reality is your workforce is already experimenting with so many tools, from ChatGPT to Perplexity, Claude. Some of your CHRO peers are sprinting ahead while others are sort of frozen, right? There's this analysis paralysis going on. And the C-suite, well, I'm not sure if they're expecting you to show up, but even if they haven't explicitly asked, it's an opportunity for HR leaders to really step into a much more strategic role. And here's the risk. If you ignore it and want to just wait and see what happens, and if you don't lead, somebody else will. And their roadmap is likely to favor, let's just say, efficiency, profitability, not adoption, ethics, and culture, right? So if you don't lead, somebody else will. And that's why being safe is really dangerous. Now, I have a question, whether you're watching now or later, and that is, share in the chat, what's one way that AI has already showed up in your team, whether formally or informally? I'd love to hear from you guys on your, what you're seeing already happening in the marketplace. All right. Let's see. All right, let me come back to the chat in a minute. I know there's a delay. And if you're just also only focusing on the HR topics, right, that's just not broad enough to be a leader today. You've got to be looking at this from an enterprise-wide AI literacy perspective. That doesn't just mean like what's it doing in talent acquisition or in talent management, but how is AI driving revenue and cost dynamics, right? How is it affecting supply chain, marketing? And the other thing is, like, what are your competitors doing, right? Like, I think about this all the time, how the smaller companies now have such an advantage, right? And the smaller companies didn't have some of the advantages as far as size before, but they always had the advantage of agility, quick decision making, less bureaucracy. So honestly, if I'm a big company, you should be scared about some of the really amazing things that smaller companies are doing right now. And I guess, beyond that, we also need to be looking at what are the regulations and the ethics risks, right? And then really finally the workforce readiness and talent gaps across all the functions, not just HR, right? You've got to be able to see the entire chessboard. And once you see the whole chessboard, you need a way to play it strategically. That's where the framework comes in that we're going to be using at the Big CHRO event. So the framework we're using to lead with confidence is called usage. And it is something that our Big CHRO speakers, Chris McKay and Dr. Jess Conser, are going to be sharing with us in detail. The not just speaking right at us, but also workshopping with us so that you can walk away with something that's sort of board ready, right, C-suite ready, that you can take back to the office on Monday. And what usage stands for is understanding, survey, align, guide, and evaluate. So usage is really about, or usage, you is understanding, right? So building that fluency enterprise-wide, right? You've got to get people on this same lingo, right? Remember the first time I heard agentic or agent, and I was kind of like, what does that mean, right? Like somebody I know who's an engineer was like, prompt engineering, that's not engineering. In any case, you've got to get people on the same fluency level, from business impact to the regulatory risk. S stands for survey. So this is talking about auditing readiness across the organization, whether it's your data, your infrastructure, AI talent, and appetite for change across these functions. 3 is align. Align, right? Linking AI to business levers, business strategies, business priorities. And this is good news because the top CHROs and top HR folks, they're already very focused on aligning HR with business strategies. So that's something you don't even have to do if you're already in that bucket. G is guide. So that is helping to shape the governance, redesigning jobs, setting ethics guardrails. Don't let others define AI for your people. You've got to get involved. As a CHRO, Chief People Officer, that's where you really have to step in. And then evaluate. Use a set of lean KPIs, right, to measure adoption rates, productivity, culture shifts. All right, so like I said, Chris McKay is a Davos speaker, LinkedIn instructor. That's where I found him, right here on LinkedIn. And Dr. Jess Conser, who came up through talent management at jumbo global organizations, will deep dive this framework with our CHROs and help our CHROs lead broader outside of just HR. And here's what's so exciting to me about this session is that I think there's always been a desire for HR leaders, for CHROs, Chief People Officers to be more strategic. And here's the deal. You can't be more strategic. Well, if the definition of strategy is knowing where to play, right? You can't be strategic if you don't actually know what's possible, because you can't know where to play if you don't know what's possible. And what I love about this point in time, is that sort of all the leaders, senior executives, C-suite leaders, board members, they're all sort of just getting started in the same place on AI. So this means, even though the head of supply chain knows a lot more about supply chain, or the head of commercial knows more about, the customers, nobody really knows a lot more about AI, and everybody's kind of starting at the same spot. And I think if you don't wait too long, you have a real opportunity to shape what's happening and be viewed as a leader in this space. Asking the right questions, right? Making sure that you're bringing the frameworks and bringing in the knowledge into your organization, even if you have executives who want to bury their head in the sand, which is a little bit scary right now. All right, so let's make this real. Frameworks are great, but what does that actually look like in practice? Well, I invited Chris and Jess to come join us, our mastermind groups, our CHRO mastermind groups. for a couple of pre-sessions, and they shared with us some really exciting use cases. So, for example, in workforce planning, AI-driven simulations, um, using internal HRIS data and external market data to help HR leaders spot skill gaps right before they become a crisis. They're using it in onboarding, right? Personalized AI-powered journeys that reduce attrition by, I think they said 18%, and cut time to productivity by 25%, while really remaining that human connection. So I know it's a big joke in HR. Every time a CHRO starts, they're like, oh my gosh, the onboarding process is pitiful. Like nobody does the onboarding for CHROs. So imagine if you just put something together, even just for the HR folks, right? The other area is succession and internal mobility. So platforms like Eightfold and Gloat surface like hidden talent, right? Talent that you didn't even know about. Some of our masterminds were talking about that. Improve internal fill rates, for example, by upwards of 30%, and then help boost that leadership diversity. As far as L&D is concerned, there's tools like Synthesia. I use Synthesia. Microsoft Copilot is creating, I guess, real-time, just-in-time learning journeys, moving beyond generic training to build fluency. And I am so excited about this whole L&D space. Like, I love the intersection of entertainment and education. And so, like, edutainment, right? Is there opportunities for us to create Broadway-type musicals, right, within our training environment? Similar to the safety video that Virgin Airlines had years ago, where instead of everybody looking at their phones, everybody is like glued to their screen watching the safety videos because of how entertaining it was. So super excited about the possibilities in L&D. So if you're watching this later or now, I'd be curious to know if you are seeing which of these, like, are you feeling like would move the needle fastest in your organization, right? Whether it's L&D, onboarding, succession, talent mobility, workforce planning, feel free to jot that into the chat. Okay. Now, as exciting as these examples are, here's the hard truth that we can't gloss over. AI is not neutral. It's an amplifier. Let me just repeat that. AI is an amplifier. And if your data is chaotic, AI magnifies that chaos. So in CDO magazine, they recently warned that when companies rush into AI without strong data foundation, things like governance, access, and bias controls are at risk. And it just doesn't cause hiccups. It creates unreliable output, compliance risks, and even AI-driven decisions that perpetuate the very problem that you thought that you were trying to solve. So for all those of you who have been trying to work on your people analytics house, this is the time, right? This is time to really get those the people data in order, and you know, all the functions, right, need to get their data analytics in order. In fact, one of the things that Chris McKay said that really struck me in our first session with him was, if you take nothing else away from today, take away that the price of intelligence is going to zero. Is going to be zero. And the only value that you bring as an organization is your data, right? The data that you have access to about your clients, about your employees, about your marketplace, right? That is what's going to be valuable. And there's another report called Metomic that shows that the hidden risks, the hidden issues, data sprawl, messy permissions, silos, they don't stay hidden, right? Once AI gets involved, they get amplified into serious risks. So these are some of the things that we'll be talking about, and we're going to make sure we have a lot of Q&A time with our experts. It's not just on the data side. If culture's weak, AI deepens the crack. I don't even have to explain that one to you, right? That if you've got a poor culture, this is just going to amplify it. So here's a takeaway. AI will amplify the good, but also the bad. You can't wait for IT or finance to figure it out because they'll optimize for efficiency. Sorry, CFOs and CIOs, efficiency or cost. It's on the CHROs to keep people at the center, to make sure adoption builds trust, culture, and of course, a competitive edge. All right, quick gut check here. Another question for you guys. Do you think AI is more of a multiplier or potential or magnifier problems? I'd love to hear what you think. And that is exactly why we built the Big CHRO event in Dallas, to give you this roadmap, the tools and peer insights to lead as well. These connections that you make today, can't imagine the amount of sharing that will happen and how that will collapse your learning in this space. So let me share my screen with you and walk you through what to expect at the Big CHRO event. All right. Let me figure out how to do this. Okay. Share screen. All right. Okay, hopefully you guys can see my screen here. Let's see. We are going to jump over here. So the Big CHRO event is a one-day event, workshop, speakers, panels on September 12th, 2025 in Plano, Texas, which is right outside of Dallas, Texas. It's in a really cool area that I like to call like the Rodeo Drive of Dallas. Okay, so we're going to kick off the morning with, of course, breakfast and coffee and lots of networking time. But we're going to start off with a panel, our CHRO panel. And you know what? What I love about this panel is that it's going to be messy, right? They're going to tell you kind of what they're experiencing in their journey right now. Like who's completely done with this, right? So got Felicia Taylor, who's an amazing facilitator, who's going to be talking to Amy Webb from the chemical industry, Doug Giroux from Hillwood, which owns a portfolio of many, many organizations, and Marucci Cantu, who is EVP of administration at DFW Airport, also oversees HR. DFW itself is very known for its AI savviness. Okay, so we've got the morning with our CHRO panel, which it's going to be real talk, right? It's not going to be like a super polished panel, because guess what? They're going through it. And I think just understanding what they're going through will help you feel more confident that it's possible. Okay, as I mentioned, Dr. Jess Conser, who spent her career in global talent management. She's worked at American Express and has been amazing to have her mind understand the HR aspects as well as the AI potential. And Chris McKay, who, as I mentioned, Davos speaker, LinkedIn instructor, has such a great way of presenting. They've got a great workshop set up for us. Okay, next is Tim Young. He's been on this AI HR journey and shared services in HR for, at that point, like 18 months or so, and he's going to kind of share 3 amazing case studies, the good, the bad, and the ugly, for our lunch keynote. Listen, we normally just kind of let you guys chat and network during lunch, but this is such an important topic that we're trying to squeeze in as much as we can in that day. During the workshop, you're gonna have amazing table mentors, right? Some of my favorite CHROs are gonna jump in, help you guys facilitate the discussions, make sure everybody has a chance to share, and make sure that you guys end up with something really fabulous to walk away with at the end of the day. In addition, since you won't get to hear what the other 17 tables are saying, we've got insight curators who are going to be at the tables helping to listen for the most amazing insights throughout the day, and then share at the end of the day what they heard. So once again, we've got some amazing insight curators, CHROs, senior HR leaders, and they are going to make sure that we hear it all. So what you get, just to recap, is we've got the workshop, we've got this framework that you're going to walk away with, we've got some really cool demos that the speakers are going to share, the mentors that are going to help facilitate these table discussions, the insight curators, we've got the panel, right? We've got a jam-packed day, but don't forget, we also will have plenty of time for networking, especially before the event and during happy hour. And I'm going to talk to you about happy hour in a minute. So just this workshop alone is worth $2,500 for one person. The pre-event recordings, 1,000. We've got just the cost of the food and the facilities, $275. Not to mention all the other bonuses that we're going to add in. And so, but we wanted to make sure that this was really reasonable for people to join in. And so we made the price of the ticket $1,500. And the reason we're able to do that, quite honestly, is I want to just thank our sponsors here real quickly. So our sponsors are underwriting this so that we can make this reasonable for folks. And by the way, if you're a CHRO Mastermind member, you do not need to pay. It is included in your membership. So make sure that you reach out to me if you haven't signed up yet. All right, so we've got Engaged to Excel, Lockton, Ariel, Brown and Brown, Challenger Gray and Christmas, DHR Global, Michael Carr Associates, Populous Advisors, Advantial, High Profile, Mercer, and Populous again. So thank you to all of our sponsors for joining in. Okay, so September 12th, 7:30 to 5 p.m. Oh, and by the way, we're going to also have an after party after the event. So stay tuned for information about that. All of that is included for $1,500. So ping me if you don't have access, you haven't seen us post it. You can go to chropartners.com/big CHRO 25 DFW. So chropartners.com/big CHRO 25 DFW. I'll also make sure I add it into the session notes here. And one last thing, you also get access to the event portal, which will include the pre-recording. So you should sign up like now, and over the long weekend, get a chance to do this. Listen, this has been so important. I've had numerous CHROs say, I already had plans that day, but I am rearranging my schedule to prioritize this because this is so important for me to get to. I know all of our other events have been amazing for the last 10 years, but I've really never heard that happen. So, excuse me, make sure that you prioritize this. Ping me if you want to do a quick call, if you have questions. And if you're curious, let's take a look. Here's some of the titles, right? We've got our mastermind members. We've got our mastermind members direct reports. So you can only attend if you're C-1 if your boss is a mastermind member. So guess what? If you want to attend next year or even this year, it's not too late for your boss to join. So we have CHROs that are non-members that are joining for the first time, sometimes for the 10th time, right? This is our 10-year anniversary. We've got some amazing sponsors, but organizations that are also going to be joining us. Okay, so that is it. That's what I have for you about the CHRO, the Big CHRO AI event. I really hope we see you there. The message here is that we really need to have CHROs step up. and we really need for your entire function to understand the gravity of not stepping up. So it starts with you, the CHRO. All right. Let me just check in the chat. Hey, Mark, thanks for showing up on this long weekend. AI, let's see what you have to say here. AI is a multiplier overall for improving processes, creating efficiencies, thinking in new ways. Game changer tool for HR if used correctly. And agree, everything comes down to data integrity to use AI effectively. That's awesome, Mark. Thank you. Thanks for that. Okay, you guys, it is a long weekend, and so I'm going to give you 5 minutes back in your day. I'm going to go do some shopping with my daughter who's home from college, and I hope to hear from you guys, right? If you have any questions at all, please reach out to me and let me know what you're thinking about, and we'll see you in a couple weeks at the Big CHRO event at the beautiful Renaissance, which, by the way, today's the last day to get the discounted rates of only $209 versus I think like the regular rates are up to $609. So go ahead and get everything booked. We'll see you soon.